I love that Jason showed the example of an event registration. So you might use Google Forms for an event registration or for a million other surveys. But if it is tied to a virtual event that you will be hosting in Zoom, that is where sort of the power of Google Forms and Zoom being the platform that you're using kind of come together to give you both in the same place. You can use one tool for the job. The form that you got into this session for today, this is what it looked like when you registered. And what I am going to show you is how I created this form. Many of you have been using Zoom to set up meetings. I highly, highly recommend, if anything is virtual or hybrid, that it will save you tons and tons of time, and it will save your inbox a million emails if you set up a registration form. It also gives you the opportunity to bake into the form some of the survey questions that you might want to ask out of people who are attending, like their name or their email address, so that you can send them follow-up information after the session, which is what we will do when the session is over today, or to ask them like what year student they are, or what's a topic that you hope that they'll cover. There's all sorts of things that you can do with this. And it gives you the ability to do some slightly more official branding and to just get all that data from it. So let's look at what this looks like. In order to access this particular feature, if you are used to logging into Zoom through the app on your computer, what you're going to want to do is open Zoom in your browser. If you start to type in Zoom, it doesn't matter where you log in from. With your UGA email address that you're registered with Zoom for and your MyID password, you will be able to get into the main Zoom login link into your UGA version of Zoom. But make sure you're using your UGA email to do it so that you get access to these paid account features like this. When you go to set up a meeting, I will actually go back to the main meetings page so you can see what this looks like. So I'm logged in as myself. These are the meetings that I have coming up. And I wanted to show you what the back end of today's meeting RSVP form looks like. So I can't edit this because it is happening now, but these are the basics of what you would want to edit. You're going to want to add a topic, a description, and the key to remember that gives you the power to set up a registration form where you can get sort of an RSVP head count, those email addresses, and any other information, and the branding page is to check the box next to registration link. What that will do after you've set all the other settings that you're used to doing for a meeting is it will give you the power to customize what the meeting page looks like. And then you have a nice URL that you can share with people to invite them to come. So down at the bottom, the other cool features under registration, that is where you'd be able to select if you wanted to change the fields. And under branding is where you'd be able to upload items. If you wanted to put a logo in the banner section, the banner is what will appear at the top of the page. You could also customize that for a banner that featured like the title of your event, or if this was for a student organization or some other organization, you could put that at the top. And then for logo, that is actually going to be an image that appears on the far right of the description that you put in for the event. And in some cases, we have actually used like headshots of people. So if you have a guest speaker coming, it's a great spot to put their headshot in the logo section. It's also a good place if you're doing like a book club or a book discussion that you could put a little image of the book on the right-hand side as like the cover image. And so you have an associated picture so that when people find your event page, it gives them a little more context as to what they're registering for. There's some other features too. If you like using polls, you could set those up in advance right here. And the best part is that I can now save today's meeting as a template. So this is going to save you time in the future. If you're going to do more lunch and learns, what I would call this one is I would say, maybe we call this a tech skills webinar template, and I save it. Now for me to get back to this so that I could start a brand new one, I would go to meeting templates. And I have my new one right here, and I could select to use this template. And this is where you can see how you would set a brand new one up using a template. And this would also look the same, even if you weren't using a template and you're just creating a new meeting. So again, I want to highlight that right here is the blue checkbox to click registration. And if you check required, that is what it's going to give you all those extra features where you can brand it. Once you click save, that is where you will then see the branding and the email settings and the registration settings. So I could click edit here, and under registration and registration options is where you can select to restrict the number of registrants. So let's say you wanted to cap a certain Zoom event at 20 people, you could put that cap in right there and it would cut off registration at that cap. You can also close registration after a certain date. And under questions, this is where you would select some of the already existing fields that are very common for people to use, like the title of your job, your organization, obviously email address, first name, last name are pretty basic ones. But under custom questions, you can select different information. So this is a question that we've created before that we used for other library events, which was, what type of community member are you? And you could have an option for people to let you know in advance if they're a staff, faculty, or student who will be attending. And you can see how you could use this to make a lot of different types of custom questions that are very similar to what you would have using Google Forms to do a survey of your attendees. All right. Let's see if I can get away from this. And this is, again, what it would look like. I don't have an image over here on the right-hand side, but just to the right of description is where you would see that image if you wanted to load an image for that field for what they refer to as the logo. I'm going to stop screen sharing. And the only other thing that I wanted to show you specific to Zoom is, let's open this one up. So let's say you gathered some information, and today, following today's meeting, once we have videos available and we want to let people know, even if they couldn't attend, but they wanted a link to the recording after the fact, I could go to meeting reports, and you navigate to this by reports on the left-hand side and then meeting report, and select the title of the meeting. And to the right-hand side, there will be an option to generate. It will create a listing, not just of the people who attended and their email addresses, but also if you had any other fields or options for questions upon registration, it would give you all of that data in a spreadsheet. And then you could click continue and it will initiate a download for that. Once it's available, you'd be able to open up an Excel spreadsheet. And that's a great way to be able to just mass copy and paste those emails so that you can continue to follow up with people with things after the event, or stay in touch with people, and also just get that great data about whatever questions you ask them. So stop screen sharing now again. And the next one, we're going to talk about Qualtrics. If you like what you've seen for Zoom and you like what you've seen for Google Forms, but perhaps you want to take your data to the next level and you want it to be, it's going to be like some very official UGA communication, that is where Qualtrics is really probably the best tool for the job. And Jason's going to tell you more about that.